And I might be running myself out of a job by doing this little experiment, but it's for science. So I think it's fair to say that AI is slowly taking over the world. I think that there's no doubt that AI is helpful. The stuff that you can do with AI is pretty insane, like writing emails, writing papers, writing books. I've also even seen YouTube videos where people literally have like an AI, like human, like robot figure, doing things like events and then even on like dating shows, which is insane to me. One of the things in the therapy world that's come up is the question of, can AI replace therapy? I think that that question is so complicated, and that's what we're here to explore today. So we're gonna use AI to help give us a little therapy session and help see if it can help me with a little bit of my social anxiety. So we're gonna test its therapy chops. Some of the things we're gonna test it in is its empathy, validate, affirm, its ability to provide psychoeducation, resources, human connection and presence, then some of its relationship building. And we're also gonna test if it can do like some experiential exercises, maybe like an art activity or a mindfulness exercise, a breathing exercise. Okay, so you ready? I'm nervous, so let's go. I'm gonna start my timer. Hey, ChatGPT, I was wondering if you could pretend to be my therapist for the next 25 minutes.
I'm here to listen. What's been on your mind lately?
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna be going to a rooftop party and a birthday party. I have been really struggling with feeling nervous around new people, and there's gonna be a lot of new people at both places.
It sounds like you've got 2 big social events coming up, and the idea of meeting a lot of new people is making you feel anxious. What do you think is at the core of that nervousness? Is it more about how others might perceive you, or something else?
This is really good so far. Yeah, I feel like I get really nervous before events, and then I also get really nervous. Well, I wouldn't say nervous, but I overthink after events where there's a lot of people, big groups, and it's more than like 3 people or so. Okay, so it sounds like there's a mix of pre-event nerves and post-event overthinking when it comes to bigger social settings. When you overthink after events, is it mostly replaying conversation, or is... What was the end of your thought? When I overthink after events, I think it's both. After events, I kind of replay moments where I feel like I've almost messed up in a conversation, or I maybe like thought that I sounded weird or awkward. And so I'll replay that in my mind and kind of go over what I wish I would have said or what I should have done instead. It's almost like I'm correcting myself after social events, but just in my mind instead of actually talking to that person. Ooh, okay.
It sounds like you get caught in a cycle of self-correction where you're replaying interactions and critiquing yourself after the fact. It can be exhausting, especially when you're rethinking things you can't really change. How does this overthinking affect you afterwards? Does it leave you feeling more anxious or maybe drained?
Ooh, those are good questions. Sorry, I'm getting nervous doing this. So good with the empathy points there. After it kind of repeated what I said, it reframed it, and then it also empathized. Like it said, it can be really exhausting. And then it asked me with a follow-up question, how does it affect me? And does it leave me feeling anxious or drained? Giving some options. That's good, that's good. It can be really exhausting. Yeah, I definitely feel more anxious afterwards, especially knowing that I can't go back in the conversation and correct it or be different, that what happened. But then I also acknowledge that the other person's probably not thinking about it as much as I am, or they were probably thinking about themselves during the interaction anyway, or thinking about something else, and I really wasn't that awkward or weird. And so I think that's why it's hard. There's a part of me that sees that, you know, it doesn't make sense what I'm doing, but then there's this other part of me that's like just wanting to self-correct and just overthink afterwards. It sounds like you're really aware of the tension between what you logically know and how you emotionally respond. On the one hand, you recognize that others aren't dwelling on interactions as much as you are, but on the other hand, there's a strong pull to overanalyze and self-correct. It's almost like your mind is trying to protect you by preparing for next time, but it ends up adding more anxiety. It brought up the protective mechanism. That's really important because a lot of times when we have these behaviors or even just like these different thought patterns, they're really protective parts in us that are trying to like shield us from something like shame or punishment that we subconsciously feel like we might get, like that we've had maybe in childhood, rejection. It's trying to protect you, but it ends up adding more anxiety. Does that part of you that wants to self-correct feel like it's trying to help in some way, or is it more of a reflex? It definitely feels unintentional, and even when I try to like intentionally stop myself, it still happens. Do you think that it would be trying to help me in some way?
It sounds like it feels automatic and hard to control, even when you're aware of it happening. Sometimes, even these unintentional habits can serve a deeper purpose, like trying to protect us from feeling embarrassed or making a mistake in the future. It could be that this part of you wants to help you get it right next time, even though it ends up causing more stress. Do you think that resonates with how this overthinking feels for you? Like it's trying to prevent something?
Possibly. I think just trying to prevent like rejection or just feeling bad about myself. That makes sense. Empathy. It sounds like the overthinking might be a way of trying to avoid feelings of rejection, isolating, or not being good enough. Ooh, it hit on one of my core beliefs without me telling it that. It's like your mind is scanning for any moments where you might have messed up to prevent that feeling in the future. But at the same time, it can leave you feeling more anxious and disconnected. Do you notice that the overthinking helps in any way, or does it mostly just add to those feelings you're trying to avoid? For sure, I just feel like even more like I'm not good enough because I keep replaying the things that I feel like I messed up on. It's doing a really good job, I want to point out, at reframing and kind of naming the experience. So I do want to point that out and give kudos to programmers. Definitely. Sometimes I won't want to go to social events because I know that I'll be overthinking them after. I'm not really sure. Do you have any ideas of things that could help? Okay, here is the psychoeducation. So, few tips: mindfulness and grounding. Practice mindfulness can help you stay present. Deep breathing, grounding, set realistic expectations. Okay. Find yourself that no is perfect. Myself boundaries. Setting realistic expectations can reduce my pressure on myself, reframe my thoughts. Create a post-event routine. That's good. Develop a calming routine after, like journaling about what I enjoyed or practicing. So it's doing a little CBT, like it's like the challenge negative thoughts, so bringing in a little CBT. Yeah, I'm really interested in some mindfulness and grounding techniques. Do you have any in mind that I could use? Okay, this involves focusing on senses to the moment. 5 things you see, 4 things you touch, 3 things you hear, 2 that you smell, and that you can taste. Okay, deep breathing, good. Body scan, good. Positive affirmations. I've definitely tried doing the 5 4 3 2 1 grounding exercise, and it didn't really work for me. What do I make of that? Or I felt better, but I still found myself overthinking afterwards. What would you say with that? Okay, if you felt better in the moment but still found yourself overthinking, a combo of mindfulness strategies. Okay, addressing underlying pattern. So seeking support from a therapist. Okay. I figured that it eventually would say, like, you should probably go see a therapist. Could you maybe walk me through a grounding exercise or maybe a reflective journaling exercise that we could do right now in real time? Oh, okay. So it's grounding and journaling. We're gonna do it. We're gonna go with therapist GPT. Find a comfortable seated position. Take a few deep breaths in through your nose. Okay, scan body. Okay, I'm just gonna say it out loud. That's what we'll do. So start with gratitude. Write down 3 things I'm grateful for today. Today, I'm grateful for getting to talk to people after church. That was actually really refreshing and nice. I'm grateful for food because I just had like a very simple meal that I made, but it was really good. It was just rice, like plain white rice and a salad. But I was happy that I was like, I have this at home to look forward to. I'm really grateful for this nice cold glass of water. And I'm also grateful that I got to take a nap today because only the Lord knows that I really desperately needed a nap. So yeah, reflect on my recent experiences. Recently, I went on a camping trip with some friends and it was really fun. I really enjoyed our conversation and I really loved playing games with my friends. Reflect on how I felt during and after the event. There was moments when I felt awkward. Like I definitely felt a sense of like, oh my gosh, did I share too much during certain deeper conversations, or I was just talking a lot and I was like, oof, I feel like I'm talking so much, just feeling a little bit of shame and embarrassment afterwards. But I also felt just happy to be with people at the same time and like inspired. So challenge negative thoughts. Note any specific thoughts or concerns I have about the event or performance. For each concern, write down a more balanced or positive perspective. For example, if I worried about saying something awkward, I said that, so it's reflecting back what I said. Remind myself that everybody makes mistakes and that's a normal part of social interactions. Okay, so there was a moment when I was talking about my opinions about a book that one of the girls is reading, and I was sharing a lot of my kind of like a mixture of like positive things, but then also some criticisms. And I felt a little bit like, am I being pretentious? Am I talking too much? So I'll just start with like maybe the thought of like, oh my gosh, am I being pretentious by sharing my opinions? If I were to reframe that, I might say, I don't know how I came across. All I know is that I share my opinion and my opinion matters. And actually, she did validate that she appreciated my input and my opinion and appreciated the dialogue and conversation. So a little bit of reframe is I didn't maybe seem pretentious because she literally validated that she actually really liked my opinion. I can't really control what other people, like how other people see me. So we'll say that. That's my reframe. Plan for future. Write down 1 or 2 things I might do differently next time. I think next time, just in the camping trip, I didn't give myself enough breaks, and I'm an introvert, and so it's really helpful for me to take breaks and step away from social interactions. I do think I could have gone in and done like a mindfulness exercise or done like some meditating in the morning. End with a few positive affirmations about yourself and my social skills. I am free to be myself around people. I am socially adept and I have the strength of empathy that really helps me sit with people and be with people. Those are my affirmations. And it says, feel free to take time with each step and adjust them to fit my needs. Wow. Okay, that was actually really good and like really nice and refreshing to do. I really loved that. Thank you so much for offering this. I think I'm gonna do this regularly actually for my social events. So I'm gonna ask it. Do you have any more resources of things that could help me with this like overthinking and self-correction that I have in social events? Like, ooh, okay. I'm actually really impressed. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I brought up the Gifts of Imperfection, Feeling Good, the Anxiety and Phobia Workbook. Never heard of that. The Gifts of Imperfection I've actually read before. Really good book by Brene Brown. I haven't read Feeling Good. One's on Psychology Today, and then one's on Very Well Mind. Great resources for articles and like little tips and things like that on just different psychology topics. So I was actually really good that it listed those. Oh, workshops and online courses. Mindfulness-based stress reduction programs. Okay, the science of well-being. Oh, and that is my timer. So the session is up. Okay, bye. Let's talk about this. We gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about what just happened. For empathy, I would give it a 9, to be honest. It did really good at capturing some of the emotions that I was feeling that I didn't actually say, but like capturing some of those just by me kind of like talking or typing and labeling them and reflecting them back to me. But of course, it's not real empathy. It's like programmed empathy. Validation, I would give it a 10. It reflected what I was feeling. And it named some of the things that I didn't even type in because I was trying to go in as neutral as possible, not even like naming it social anxiety. And I loved that it actually didn't even name it social anxiety, but it wasn't like, let me give you this label. And I thought that was really good. Psychoeducation. So it was giving me some helpful techniques to use. It didn't really like label them as like, this is a part of cognitive behavioral therapy, where I think like it could have gone the extra mile with like actually literally saying, this is what I'm doing, or this is what I'm recommending. It was just kind of like saying like, you could reframe your thoughts. And a big part of like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT is like reframing your thoughts, challenging negative thoughts. But I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it a 10. Resources. I'll give it an 8 for resources. I thought it gave really good resources, but I honestly expected a little bit more. Maybe it didn't want to like list all of the resources. We already said that human connection and presence, we're giving it a 0 because it's just not a human. And then relationship building, I would give that maybe like a 3. I think a part of building relationship is to reflect empathy, is to validate, but I didn't feel like there was any relationship being built with chat. Maybe if I had like an hour-long session or like kept coming back weekly, maybe I would feel like a sense of relationship, but I didn't feel that. Experiential activities. I loved the mindfulness exercise. I didn't love how it was like, yeah, do all these things, but I had to like read them, but they were exercises that you would normally do with your eyes closed. So I was like, okay, relax my head, relax my arms. And I was like, relax my legs. Ideally, to kind of get that full experience, you would want to sit down with someone, be able to walk through it with someone, watch a YouTube video even, or like do a meditation like app. Yeah, I'll give it a 5 because the experience of having someone doing it with you is very different than reading on a screen and then doing something yourself. But honestly, in conclusion, I think that it was actually really helpful. I think that ChatGPT is a great mental health resource, and I don't think it's anything to be like seriously afraid of as a therapist or even as a client, like in the future. I think that it can provide a lot of great resources for both therapists, clients, anyone in between. I think obviously chat is not a person. People and humanness and the imperfections of humans mixed with like the nuances of what makes a human human and what kind of creates like a human to human interaction is honestly like a majority of the healing in therapy. Like even research shows that it's really the relationship with the therapist, not even like the therapeutic model or theory that a therapist is working with, that actually creates change. Because human relationships are just so important. And so that's where I think like, no, like I don't think ChatGPT could replace therapy, because we literally need like humans and another human sitting in the room with another human, or another human even on screen having a virtual session with another human to capture some of the nuances of what it means to be a human. I think the other thing too is like a lot of people think that therapists kind of come in and they give advice and input and they just like tell people things that they see in them. But there's so much happening in the therapy room that is like under the surface. And as a therapist sitting with a client, we're looking for so many different things. We're not just looking for what you say, but we're looking for how you say it. We're looking for body language. We're looking for the pauses and when those come in. We're looking for when you're having a hard time saying something. We're looking for when something's super easy and you're feeling super passionate. I think one day chat will be able to do so much and be able to capture a lot of those things. The other thing with that too is like, you don't want to dive super deep on chat about your entire life story, because they are recording your data for use for their internal purposes and to help with their research and to help develop the program even more. So you don't want to be like blurting out your entire life story or your deepest life secrets, especially if there's like some consequences to doing that. So I think there's that, like the confidentiality piece of just being on the internet. The other thing, you don't want to share your entire like life's trauma with chat. Not just because of the confidentiality piece, but also because it could actually be harmful to one, be sharing like that much traumatic information. You want to be able to share with someone that can help you kind of like slowly be able to talk about some of the things that are difficult and be able to be supported when you're talking about those things, because sometimes things might come up and they might overwhelm you and you don't want to get re-traumatized, like overly triggered in a way that's harmful. Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think. Is there anything that you're curious about of watching, like me test chat on? Put it in the comments below. And do you think that chat will take over real life therapy anytime soon or in the future at some point? Well, thanks for being with me and letting me walk you through this. It was really fun to do this, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.